inshallah ta'ala, tonight, we will continue our commentary on the book Muslim Morals and Manners. And last time we completed our discussion of the Sunnah al-Fitrah, the actions which are from the nature of mankind. And inshallah ta'ala tonight we will begin with the discussion, or continue our discussion, picking up from the subtopic of good companions. Good companions. Before we do that, let's take a few objectives for this section. The first objective is to talk about the importance of good companions. So provide evidence for the importance of keeping company with good companions. Provide evidence for the importance of keeping company with good companions. The second objective, clarify why has Islam emphasized keeping company with good companions? Why has Islam emphasized keeping company with good companions? And then the final objective, what is the wisdom? What is the wisdom behind the prophetic advice? What is the wisdom behind the prophetic advice? Be careful with whom you associate. So the Prophet ﷺ, in one of his hadith, and we'll mention the hadith, he told the Muslims to be careful with whom they associate. What's the wisdom behind this prophetic advice? But, brothers and sisters, keeping company with good people is part of having good character, and is essential for the achievement of fine morals, decent manners, and respectable conduct. So keeping company is part of good character, but in addition to that, it's essential for the achievement of fine morals, decent manners, and respectable conduct. And that's because companions, they influence us, they rub off on us, we have a tendency to imitate and resemble them, adopt their manners, morals, and our character often mirrors theirs, mirrors the character of our companion. So it is incumbent that we associate with people who we want to be like. It is incumbent that we associate with people that we want to be like in terms of their character and conduct. And the importance of keeping company with decent people, pious people, upright people, and virtuous people has been emphasized in numerous places in the Quran and the Hadith. So we have evidence from the Quran and the Hadith that this is something very important. So one example from the Quran is the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah At-Tawbah, the 9th surah, verse 119, in which he said, Subhanah, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu ittaqullaha wa kunu ma'as sadiqeen. O you who believe, fear Allah, and keep company with those who are truthful. O you who believe, fear Allah, and keep company with those who are truthful. In another verse, Surah Al-Kahf, the 18th surah, verse number 28, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَاصْبِرْ نَفْسَكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ رَبَّهُمْ بِالْغَدَاةِ وَالْعَشِيِّ يُرِيدُونَ وَجْهَهُ وَلَا تَعْدُ عَيْنَاكَ عَنْهُمْ تُرِيدُ زِينَةَ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَلَا تُطِعْ مَنْ أَغْفَلْنَا قَلْبَهُ عَنْ ذِكْرِنَا وَاتَّبَعَ هَوَاهُ وَكَانَ أَمْرُهُ فُرُطًا. So Allah says in this verse, and maintain yourself patiently in the company of those who call upon their Lord in the morning and the evening, seeking His face, and do not overlook them seeking the pomp and glitter of the life of this world. And obey not him whose heart we have made void of our remembrance, one who follows his own lusts, and whose affair is one of negligence. So Allah basically tells us, stick with the people who are good, they're righteous, they call upon Allah, and avoid the company of what? The impious people who do not obey Allah, and their hearts are void of His remembrance. We also have the hadith collected by Abu Dawud and Tirmidhi on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, in which the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam, he said, لا تصاحب إلا مؤمنا ولا يأكل طعامك إلا تقي. He said, do not keep company except with a believer, and let only the pious eat your food. Do not keep company except with a believer, and let only the pious eat your food. So if you look at this hadith, the Prophet, first of all, he says, the only people you should associate, O Muslim, is what? Other believers. Telling them what? These are the people whose company you should keep. And let only the pious eat your food. Doesn't mean that there's an impious person, he's hungry, you don't feed him. But he's saying, generally speaking, that the people you should feed are the pious people. Again, encouraging us to be in the company of what? People of piety. Tayyib. So now, what's the wisdom? Why has Islam put so much emphasis on associating with what? Good companions. It is because of the influence wielded by the one you, or the one you interact and associate with. The influence that people you associate with, not even just people, anything that you associate or interact with has great influence, tremendous influence upon you. And this is indicated, just to show you, I want you to contemplate this hadith. The hadith collected by Bukhari Muslim, in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, وَالْفَخْرُ وَالْخُيَلَ فِي أَصْحَابِ الْإِبَلِ وَالسَّكِينَةُ وَالْوَقَارُ فِي أَهْلِ الْغَنَمِ. He said, pride and arrogance are traits of the owners of camels, while composure, calmness, cool and level-headedness, and dignity are traits of the owners of sheep. Again, he said, the owners of camels, they have a tendency to be what? Arrogant and proud. The owners of sheep, the people who take care of sheep, they look after sheep, they have a tendency to be what? To have composure, to be calm, to be level-headed, and to be people of dignity. But it's as if the Prophet is saying that by being in the company of these animals, or the company of these animals has done what? Has impacted their behavior. So the Prophet is telling that even animals that we what? Tend to and care for can influence our behavior, influence the way we carry ourselves, our character. So now if this is the case for animals that you care for and you tend to, how much more so is the case for what? For other humans, other human beings that you associate with, as the Prophet said in the hadith. That's why the Prophet told us in the hadith, he said, Al-mar'u ala dini khalili. He said, the person will follow the religion, the way of life of his closest companion. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِدُ. So beware of those with whom you associate. So let each one of you be careful who he befriends. So if you look, he says, Al-maru ala din khalili. He'll follow the religion of his friend. He'll follow the faith, the way of life of his friend. And so this right here, fear of losing our religion, should be enough incentive to avoid associating with non-Muslims or impious or misguided Muslims. This should be enough. The fact that the deen that you have is at risk when you associate with what? People who are what? They're either non-Muslims or they're Muslims, but what? They're impious. Exactly. They're impious. They are misguided. And the fear is at what? If you associate with them, you'll be like them. People, you have people, ya ikhwani, and this is a reality that we live in right now. You have people who associate with non-Muslims, or even some Muslims. But these Muslims or non-Muslims, they are inconsiderate. They're rude. They're crude. They're belligerent. They use foul language. They listen to music filled with depravity. They engage in illicit relationships, and so on. And so these people who associate with them, they have some of these same qualities. They're rude, they're crude, they're belligerent, they're abrasive. They're people who their behavior and conduct is repulsive to others. Other people are what? Put off by their behavior. And they'll do what? They'll wonder why. They'll wonder why. Why do I behave like this? And they'll wonder why they have a hard time changing. It's because they are products of their environment. And they are heavily influenced by the company they choose to keep. The people they associate with have what? Have influenced them, and they have to realize that. So now, if you notice, we mentioned animals that you tend to, that you care for. They can what? Influence your behavior. And then we said people that you associate with sometimes or even frequently. So now we're going to apply here what we call al-Qiyas al-Awlawi. Al-Qiyas al-Awlawi basically means it's when you make an analogy between two things which share a quality, but one of them has what? More of the quality than what? The other. So whatever ruling you give to this one, which has less of the quality, is going to be even more applicable to this one. You guys agree with that? Yes. So let me give you an example of al-Qiyas al-Awlawi. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran, He says, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّهُ. And your Lord has decreed that you worship none but Him. وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. And that you are good to your parents. إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ. Whether one of them reaches old age while you're alive, أو كلاهما, or both of them, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ. So don't say to them even the word what? Uff. Uff is like something you say when somebody keeps asking you for something, and for lack of a better word, they're nagging you. And you basically let them know that what? You had up to here by saying what? Uff, or what? Or like, enough, oh, okay, I got it, right? So Allah is saying you can't even say this to what? Your parents. So let me ask you this question. Can you strike your parents? No. You can't strike them. Why? That doesn't say you can't strike them in the eye. And there's no hadith that doesn't say you can't strike your parents. But we know you can't strike your parents. Why? Because Allah said you can't even say uff. So if you made uff haram and uff is down here, then that which is what? Greater than that is also what? Even more haram. So we call it qiyas al-awlawi. You guys see that? So let's apply that now. Let's come back to this this discussion. So we say that the Prophet tells us that, look, the animals you care for, they have character. And that character, if you're not careful, the character of that animal, it can what? You can adopt it. You can end up resembling that and being like them. If you have, like, for example, an animal that you care for that's aggressive, you'll become what? Aggressive. You have an animal that's what? Proud. Then you can be what? Proud. And if you have an animal which is what? Very calm and peaceful and easily what? It's very docile, you become what? Like that. The Prophet tells us that. Is that so? Then he tells us that, okay, if this is the case with what? Animals, it's even more so the case with what? People you associate with on what? Now and again or frequently. And he said, Al-maru adini khalili. The person will follow the faith of his close companion. Like now I want you to apply al-qiyas al-awlawi to this. Apply it to someone who you associate with constantly. So that person can influence you even more. Is that not so? Then who do you accompany constantly? You don't accompany your best friend constantly. At some point, you what? You go home and he goes home. Your wife. So your wife or your husband. So if this is the case with people we associate with every now and then those whom we associate with consistently, constantly, meaning one's husband or wife, is even what? Is even more capable of influencing you in a positive or a negative way. And that is why the Prophet ﷺ, he cautioned men and women looking for a spouse to consider carefully and choose wisely. So we have the hadith collected by Bukhari and Muslim on authority of Abu Hurairah, in which he said about women. He said, تُنْكَحُ الْمَرْأَةُ لِأَرْبَعٍ. A woman is married for any one of 4 reasons. لِمَالِهَا وَلِحَسَبِهَا وَلِجَمَالِهَا وَلِدِينِهَا فَاظْفَرْ بِذَاتِ الدِّينِ تَرِبَتْ يَدَاكَ. He said in the hadith, a woman is married for any one of 4 reasons. Her wealth, her lineage, her beauty, or her piety. Marry the religious one and be blessed. So notice the Prophet ﷺ, even in our what? Marital relationships, he's emphasizing that what? Get the good companion. Why? Because the bad companion will what? Have an effect on you. Okay, so don't just take the first thing that comes across. No, be selective. Because it's going to have an effect on you down the road. And it's not just applicable to what? To women. It's also applicable to men. Which is why the Prophet said in the other hadith, he said, إِذَا خَطَبَ إِلَيْكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخُلَقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ إِلَّا تَفْعَلُوهُ تَكُنْ فِتْنَةٌ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَفَسَادٌ عَرِيضٌ. So he said in the hadith, he said, if you are pleased with the religion and character of the man who proposes, then marry him to the girl in your charge. If you fail to do so, there will be tribulation in the world and much corruption. So on the other side, the man's side, the husband's side, the Prophet again, he says, look, you need to be looking for what? A specific time of person. And when that person comes, you do what? Right. You seize the opportunity and you don't let it pass away. Looking for what? For other qualities which what? Which will be harmful in the long run. Yeah, some people go all the way to California shit. Looking for the right thing. So that said, so this is important, ya ikhwani. Don't think when we start talking about good companions, it's just the people that you meet in school. The people you meet at work. The people you may meet in the mosque. And you say, I need to be selective when it comes to what? These companions. You need to be selective with them. Yeah, there's no question. But even more selective with what? The person who's going to share what? Share your life with you. Right? Share the rest of your life with you. And be in your company constantly and will have the greatest amount of influence on you. Tayyib, if we go back, and this is related to our last objective, the Prophet ﷺ said the hadith earlier that we mentioned earlier, he said, "Al-maru adini khalili falyanzur ahadukum man yukhalil." He said, a person will follow the faith of his closest companion, so be careful whom you what? Befriend. So, what is the wisdom? Or there's great wisdom in this advice, and the wisdom in this advice can be seen from three angles. When the Prophet said, be careful whom you befriend, a lot of wisdom in this advice can be seen from 3 angles. The first angle is that friends have a tendency to apply what? Peer pressure. Friends apply peer pressure. And if they're good friends, they pressure you to do what? To do good things. And if they're bad friends, they pressure you to do bad things. So that's why it makes sense what? Or you have to choose what? Your friends wisely. Because, ya ikhwani, it's easier to be good when the people around you are, and they're pushing you to be good. And there's this healthy competition towards good. But it's difficult to be good when you're surrounded by what? Evil. And you're being bombarded with invitations to evil, and you're being pulled towards what? Evil. It becomes a struggle. And we're supposed to make this journey to Allah as easy on ourselves as we can. And try to find the environment which is most conducive to our success on this journey as we can. That's why in the famous hadith of the man who killed 99, when he met the real scholar, and he asked him what to do, how he could repent, he said, انطلق إلى أرض كذا وكذا. He said, go to such and such land. فإن بها أناسا يعبدون الله تعالى. He said, because therein are some people who what? They're pious and they worship Allah. فَعْبُدِ مَعَهُمْ. So go there and worship Allah with them. وَلَا تَرْجِعْ إِلَى بَلَدِكَ. And do not go back to your country. فَإِنَّهُ أَرْضُ سُوءٍ. He said, because it's what? An evil land. So he's letting them know that what? If you go back and associate with the people of evil, they're going to what? Pull you towards evil. But if you go and associate with the people of piety, they'll push you towards piety. طيب, تفضلي يا أخت. You had this question?
I just wanted to agree with you. After my mother died about 3 years ago, and I had to move out of her house because my brother wanted to sell it. I kind of isolated myself more from people. I worked third shift, so I didn't work with anybody but the manager. And I stuck to the library in my home and my studies. And I became more spiritual.
Subhanallah.
And started. I guess you could say, started my real spiritual pilgrimage. And I was better when I was like that. But when I tried to help people from work that were non-Muslims, I even opened up my home to 2 of them.
Subhanallah.
They were a bad influence and bad character around me. And as soon as I made them leave, I went back to being a better person.
Subhanallah.
And I'm working harder than what I was at my studies.
Alhamdulillah. Do you mind to give a summary of the question? So because people could not hear her.
Absolutely.
Please, a summary. Don't give the whole story again.
Absolutely.
So it is true. It is who you surround yourself around. And I had made mistakes prior to that. And people like to throw them in my face. And after she died, I pushed them away. Because I knew I wasn't that same person.
Right.
And I was becoming a better person, so I kept that negativity out of my life, and I have become a better person.
Jameel. Jameel, faham tayyib. So the sister mentioned that she lived the experience that we're talking about, where she had a period in her life where when she basically divorced herself from her friends and associates, and resolved herself to study more about the deen and practice the deen on her own, kind of isolated herself, which is the word that she used, then she became what? More pious, and she felt she was heading in the right direction. And as soon as she let some non-Muslims into her life, opened her home to them to try to help them and assist them, their association began to do what? Began to drain that battery, that spiritual battery, and cause her to kind of slip away or deviate from the path that she was previously on. And wallahi, ikhwan, I think a lot of people can say that they lived the experience to a greater or lesser extent. That they kept company with certain people and they could see how that company was what? Having a negative effect on them. And even then, that's a blessing if you what? If you realize it. Because many people, they don't even realize it. They don't even realize it. And then they just wake up one day from their stupor and see that what? I don't even pray. Right? I used to pray, I used to do this, and now I don't even pray because what? The people that I associate with.
But it wasn't just religion. I was studying on the Middle East, on Palestinian things that would help Arab and Muslims, So, and they pushed me away from that. And
you got them out of your life?
Yeah.
What you mean?
Yeah.
May Allah bless you. The second angle that we want to mention, so the first angle we mentioned is we said friends have a tendency to what? Apply pressure. The second one is misguided friends are likely to misguide you. Misguided friends are likely to misguide you. And this is the thing, this is a sad thing too, Yehor. That when you have a friend who follows a path other than the path you follow, it's not enough that they what? That they follow the wrong path. They are not satisfied until what? You follow the same path. So you have to be mindful of that. That it's not enough that I'm doing the wrong thing. I'm not going to be pleased unless what? You do it with me. You do the wrong thing too. And that's not a real friend. Like for example, let's say you have a friend who smokes. And you don't smoke. And he knows that you shouldn't smoke. Smoking is not a good thing. So why would he invite you, insist, push you, pressure you into what? Smoking and adopting something which is negative. Why can't he just be satisfied with the fact that what? He smokes, you don't smoke. I know I shouldn't smoke. Maybe I should try not to smoke. But I definitely won't what? Corrupt. I won't corrupt you. No. They're not satisfied being corrupt themselves. You have to be corrupt too. And these two that we mentioned, friends apply pressure, misguided friends will try to what? Misguide you. These two can be evidenced, these two angles can be evidenced by the famous qissa, the famous story of the wafat, the death of Abu Talib. When Abu Talib was on his deathbed, most of you know the qissa. Abu Talib was the pillar of support, a great pillar of support for the Prophet ﷺ in the Meccan period. Because you know that the Meccan society was a society where you have to have someone who will protect you, someone who will give you ijara, someone who will say, look, if you mess with him, you mess with me. That's how the Meccan society was. That's how the pagan Arabian society was. So the pagans, the Quraysh, they wanted to harm the Prophet, especially when he started speaking out against their idols, and the growth of Islam was threatening the status quo, so to speak. But they couldn't get at the Prophet because Abu Talib insisted on protecting him. So when Abu Talib didn't just protect the Prophet with his name, his reputation, and with his clan, Bani Hashim, but he also supported the Prophet with what? With whatever he had of money, and so on and so forth. So the Prophet enjoyed a great deal of support from Abu Talib. In fact, Abu Talib contributed and sacrificed and aided Islam in the early days more than many Muslims. Al-Muhim, Abu Talib was on his deathbed. And the Prophet ﷺ, he came to what? To plead with him, make one last ditch effort to convince him to what? Accept Islam. And so he said, oh my uncle, oh my dear uncle, say la ilaha illallah. كلمة أحاج لك بها عند الله. He said, oh my uncle, say there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. A word, because of it, I'll be able to plead on your behalf with Allah. But there were two people also there. Abu Jahl, and who else? And Abd'Llah ibn Abi Umayyah. Abu Jahl and Abd'Llah ibn Abi Umayyah. And these were two what? Pagans, mushrikun. So they're there as well. And they kept saying, every time the Prophet would plead with him to accept Islam, they would say, are you really going to forsake the religion of your forefather? Are you going to put your forefathers to shame by saying that they were on misguidance? Because if you accept a different religion, you're saying that they were on the wrong religion. You're not going to do that, are you? And so they kept saying that. And the Prophet kept pleading with him to embrace Islam. They kept pleading with him to remain a mushrik. And they kept going back and forth until Abu Talib, he said with his last breath, he said that he would remain upon the religion of Abdul Muttalib, and he refused to adopt Islam. So you see how, even on his deathbed, they couldn't leave him to what? Make his own decision and follow guidance. But they insisted that he follow misguidance. So these are two reasons why the Prophet said what? Be careful whom you befriend. Friends are not, it's not a light matter. Choosing friends is not a light affair. The third angle, the final angle that we'll mention, is that a friend, if he's a good person, you will always benefit from his goodness. A friend, if he's a good person, you will always benefit from his goodness. And if he is bad, you will be invariably harmed by his badness. And that's why it's important. Again, that's why another wisdom why the Prophet said, be careful who you befriend. Because if you have a good friend, you're always going to what? Benefit. Either directly or indirectly from his friendship. But if you have a bad friend, you're always going to be harmed. Either directly or indirectly. We do leave that, and this is evidenced by the famous hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ, he said, مثل الجليس الصالح والجليس السوء كحامل المسك ونافخ الكير. So he said the likeness of the good companion and the bad one is the likeness of the fragrance merchant and the ironsmith. فحامل المسك إما أن يحذيك وإما أن تبتاع منه وإما أن تجد منه ريحا طيبة. He said the fragrance merchant will either give you some perfume as a gift. He says, hey, take this free sample. Because you'll come back after you try this. You'll come back. Take this free sample. Or he will sell you some. He'll sell you some. Or at the very least, if he doesn't give you a gift, he doesn't sell you some perfume, what's going to happen? You're going to smell his sweet fragrance. Just by being in his presence, you're going to smell the fragrance of what? Of his own perfume or his own cologne, and what? The colognes that he sells. So you're going to benefit directly or indirectly. Then he says, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, وَنَافِخُ الْكِيرِ إِمَّا أَن يُحْرِقَ ثِيَابَكَ وَإِمَّا أَن تَجِدَ رِيحًا خَبِيثَةً. He says, the ironsmith, on the other hand, will either burn your clothes or stain them with soot, or at the very least, you will smell a foul smell when in his presence. So notice the ironsmith, or the bad companion, is the one who what? He's always going to what? Harm you, either directly or indirectly. And so this is the wisdom why we've been told what? To choose our friends wisely. And it's really sad that we live in a time, we live in a land where for whatever reason many Muslims prefer to be friends with non-Muslims. And then that friendship, what? It has its what? Its consequences. Its negative consequences on their deen. طيب. So now we come to the next subtopic mentioned in the book, and that is the subtopic of truthfulness. Truthfulness. And so we'll mention a few objectives for this subtopic. The first objective is we want to be able to cite evidence for the virtue of truthfulness and the harm of lying. Cite evidence for the virtue of truthfulness and the harm of lying. Second objective, I want to mention the positive effects of truthfulness on the honest person and those who interact with him. The positive effect of truthfulness on the honest person, the person who's truthful, and those who what? Interact with him. And then the third objective, the last objective, is the opposite. The negative effects of lying on the liar and those who interact with him. The negative effects of lying on the liar and those who interact with him.
The negative effects of the liar.
The negative effects of lying on the liar and those who interact with him. طيب, so truthfulness. Now truthfulness is not merely a prized quality and an admired behavior in Islam, but rather in all faiths. Every faith praises what? Truthfulness. Even those who deny God and they do not believe in religion, even the atheists, what? They think truth is what? Truthfulness is good.
And even if you find that people, even if they don't like the truth, or they find it hard to swallow, they still what? Respect the one who tells the truth and appreciate his or her honesty. Even if they don't like what, as I said, if the truth drives you crazy, you'll be insane, right? If the truth hurts, you'll be in pain. So basically, sometimes people say things, it's true, and it what? It hurts. But you appreciate what? Their honesty, and you respect them for being honest. On the contrary, lying is despised by most people, regardless of the confessional affiliation, whether Muslim, Christian, Jew, or atheist. They don't like people who lie. And people hate to be what? Lied to. To be lied to. Everybody hates to be what? Lied to. And they hold the liar in very low esteem. And the Prophet ﷺ, he contrasted the effects of truth and falsehood. He said, إِنَّ الصِّدْقَ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْبِرِّ وَإِنَّ الْبِرَّ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ وَإِنَّ الرَّجُلَ لَيَصْدُقُ حَتَّى يَكُونَ صِدِّيقًا. So he said, verily, so he gave us one side of the coin. He said, verily truthfulness leads to righteousness, and righteousness leads to paradise. And indeed a person will continue to tell the truth until telling the truth becomes part of his nature. Then he said, وَإِنَّ الْكَذِبَ يَهْدِي إِلَى الْفُجُورِ وَإِنَّ الْفُجُورَ يَهْدِي إِلَى النَّارِ وَإِنَّ الرَّجُلَ لَيَكْذِبُ حَتَّى يُكْتَبَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ كَذَّابًا. He said, verily lying leads to iniquity, and iniquity leads to hell. And a person will continue to lie and speak falsely until he is written down with Allah as a habitual liar. So if we look at the hadith, the first half of it, it tells us that truthfulness is like a seed. And from that seed, the tree of goodness sprouts. It grows tall, strong, and it does what? It bears fruit. And that fruit is what? Good deeds. And the reward for the truthfulness and the good deeds that it produces is paradise itself. And this should be enough incentive for every Muslim to be what? Truthful. But add to this that truthfulness has a lot of positive what? Effects on the one who tells the truth and on the people who what? Interact with him. So for example, the person who's honest, people do what? They trust him. And his honesty gives them peace of mind. They always give him the benefit of the doubt because he's honest. And their hearts are free of what? Apprehension, unease, disquiet, because when you know the person is trustworthy, you're able to what? Relax. And also when a person, in addition to this, when a person makes it a point to tell the truth, it becomes part of his what? His nature. He doesn't have to think about it. Naturally, he's always going to be what? Honest and truthful. And he develops not only this, an affinity for the truth itself. He loves the truth and he always seeks it in everything. He seeks the truth in everything, including what? Religion. So a person might be honest and be an atheist. A person might be honest and be a Christian. But because of his honesty, he begins to what? Love the truth and seek it. And he's very what? Impartial and objective. And so he's able to see what? The falsehood in atheism, the falsehood in Christianity, the falsehood in Judaism, and come to what? Islam. If he's a Muslim and he's on a deviant path, because of his honesty and his objectivity, he's able to what? See the error in his ways and come to what? The Sunnah, the true Islam. So these are some of the benefits that come from what?
From a brother.
Right. So these are some of the benefits that come from what? Being truthful. A lot of what? Intangible benefits and tangible benefits that come from being truthful. Also, people consider him honest. They refer to him as such. And Allah records him as what? As an honest person. But the Prophet tells us in the hadith, on the other hand, lying gives birth to what? To wickedness and evil deeds. And these evil deeds will earn the one who lies Allah's anger and punishment in the hellfire. And this is enough incentive for the believer to what? To avoid lying. But add to this some of those negative effects that we alluded to earlier, that come as part and parcel of what? Of lying. So one, the people automatically, when a person lies or has a tendency to lie, people do what? They distrust him. And they have this feeling of what? Discomfort. And when he speaks, and there's two possible interpretations for what he says, they always assume the worst, right? Because he's a liar. He's a liar, right? So they assume the worst. And when they deal with him, their hearts are full of anxiety, concern, and skepticism. Okay? Yeah, so you said you want to sell the car. Yeah, definitely I want to sell it. Yeah. Does it have any problems? Oh, no, man. This car is like brand mint condition, brother. And they feel what? Skepticism, anxiety, because he's a liar. He's a liar. They don't trust him, and they feel what? Hey, can I really believe him? Is he really telling the truth? Right? Okay? Also, Ikhwani, another of the evil effects of lying is one lie invariably leads to what? Another lie. That you have to make another lie to what? To cover the first lie. And then what? Another lie to cover that lie. Then another lie to cover it. So it becomes like this web of deceit that the person finds himself what? Caught in. Or a pit, a deep pit that he's what? Buried by what? By all these what lies. And can never dig his way out. It's like, for example, let's say one of us was invited to a dinner party, but we didn't want to go. Okay? Maybe the person invited us we don't really get along with, or there's going to be people there that we don't get along with, so we just didn't go. So the person will invariably call and say, hey, how come you didn't show up at my dinner party? So the person doesn't have an excuse, but he's on the spot, right? So what will they do? What will they do? They'll what? Lie. Oh, I was sick. So that's the first lie. I was sick, because he wasn't sick. Oh yeah, what was wrong with you? Oh, now I'm in trouble because I wasn't sick. I got to come up with what? A lie, a sickness, which is what? Is not true. Oh, I caught the flu. Really? You caught the flu? Well, what did you do? What did you do? My mother took me to the doctor. My mother took me to a very good doctor. They gave me some really good medicine, and I feel a lot better now. Because, I noticed you seem well in the day. I mean, caught the flu, and you just, one day flu? No, but I just went to this real good doctor, and they gave me some real good meds, and now I'm good to go. Who'd you say took you to the doctor? My mother. I thought you said your mother was out of town. Oh, well, she came back. You see that? You guys see that? So it just becomes what? One lie to cover up another lie, and becomes a pit of lies. A person's buried in this pit of what? Of lies that can never dig themselves out. But also his soul becomes what? Corrupted by his tendency to what? Lie. That's what the Prophet meant when he said, Yahdi ila al-fujur. That his soul becomes corrupted by what? His tendency to lie. So what? Lying leads to what? Iniquity. And then when his tower of lies comes what? Crashing down. Ultimately, he's going to get caught. He gets exposed. The tower of lies comes crashing down. Then his reputation is then what? Ruined. Because once people catch him in a lie, they stamp him with that label of what? Liar, 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 pants on fire, right? Okay? And that's perhaps what the Prophet, when he said, Hatta yuktaba indallahi kadhab, until he's written down with Allah as a liar. And that stamp gets stamped on him, what? And the people do what? They look at him as such. Okay? But I want to make a point in closing, and then we'll get ready for prayer. And that is that being lied to in general is painful. But I think it's even more painful when the person who lies to you is someone that you love. Okay, someone who you love and is close to you. If they're not truthful to you, this is really painful. And you may find yourself, if somebody who you love lies to you, you'll find yourself asking, why would my loved one, husband, wife, child, parent, brother, sister, friend, etc., why would they look me in the face and what? And lie. And I'm not justifying this in any way, shape, or form, but I will say this, is that sometimes people who are lied to are partially to blame. That doesn't excuse the behavior, but sometimes they're partially to blame. And that's because sometimes people have a tendency to demonstrate the fact that they are not understanding. They're not open-minded. They're not patient. They're not tolerant. They're not able to put things in perspective. And whenever they're told something that they don't like, they do what? They fly off the handle. You guys understand that? You guys see that? So what happens is the person who we love, they find it difficult to level with us because we're people who can't handle what? The truth if it's painful. So they feel it's easier to do what? To sugarcoat, to lie or to omit. To omit. You guys understand that? I'm not justifying it in any way, shape, or form. But what I will say is that it's really important for us as friends, as relatives, as parents, as children, as whatever, husbands and wives, that we try to be what? People who are understanding, and the people that we love can come to us and tell us anything. And we can put it in the proper perspective, and we won't fly off the handle, so it makes it easier for them to tell what? Tell the truth. Just want to make that point. Tayyip, any questions, any comments? Any complaints? You want to deal with that, Tayyip? تفضل يا أخت.
When it comes to trying to help people, like, how careful do you have to be? I had a neighbor that I really didn't know, and I had seen him one day walking outside, and he had a beer in his hand, and I just said hello, because I'm always trying to be friendly with my neighbors. And he knocked on my door one day, and we started talking and stuff like that, and I realized that he was more, and I know you work like in the prison system, he was more prone to alcohol and drugs, and I wanted to help him. And I told him, he, by coming to my home, he knew I was a Muslim. I had surahs up and stuff like that. And I told him I was a Muslim. And he tried to hit on me, and I said, son, it's no way possible. I'm a Muslim. It's not permitted.
Hey.
And I was like, and I don't date or anything like that. It would be marriage. But I kept on, trying to help him because he needed rehab. And he even, like 2 weeks later, offered him marriage, and I said, no, you're not a Muslim. And one time he even lied to me and said he would convert. So I said, well, say la ilaha illallah. Didn't even bother. And I kept on trying to help him because, I felt really bad because, like, most of the time he's always drinking or he would barely understand what you're saying. One time he came and knocked on my door with some food, and he claimed that when he was out at dinner, he brought me something back to eat. That he met a Muslim psychologist, and the Muslim psychologist told him to be persistent. And right then and there, I knew he was just a complete liar because no Muslim psychologist would ever tell him that. I have books on Deen, I have a book on Sharia law. I mean, I'm not stupid. I thought I was only a poet. And then I finally got him to go to rehab, but I didn't. After that, I had nothing else to do with him because, you're not going to lie to me about something that I'm not that stupid. I know better. My faith was too strong. And I had, after he came out of rehab, I had one conversation with him, and I said, look, and also, of course, he kind of ticked me off because he said he never had a Palestinian woman before, and I told him you never will. And I told him after he got out of rehab, I said, you need to change for yourself. You came out of rehab too quickly, and I said, and the only reason why I put up with your disrespect is because I was trying to help you. Because you're 44, and you go to your mother every 2 or 3 days after you get your check and pay your bills for $20. I was like, you need to grow up. You need to get off the drugs and the alcohol. I was like, you're too old for that. I was like, but I'm not stupid. I was like, quite a few things that you said to me were really insulting.
Right.
I was like,
What's the question?
When you lied and said you were converted.
Hey.
And you had no intention. I said, tell me, would you really have converted? He said, no. I said, and I know that because I could see through your eyes that in your heart, Jesus will always be the Son of God. To you. I was like, you don't ever insult somebody like that.
Hey.
And I said, I don't care what you do from now on. I said, you came out of rehab too quickly. You're going to fall back into it, but I don't want anything to do with you.
Hey.
So how do you go about trying to help somebody like that? Where to the point where you finally stop, even if he was a Muslim? You know what I'm saying?
What I'll say is this, is that First of all, the desire to help others is something that every Muslim should have. That rahmah, that mercy, that compassion, that pity for other people is something that Muslims should always have. We know that the Prophet ﷺ had that, and we're supposed to follow his example, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But it's critical. Two things I'll mention, to be brief, is that when you want to help someone, that one, you always want to help. Everything we do, including helping others, it has to be governed by the parameters of the deen. So we know that the deen is very strict in terms of what? The interaction between men and women. And it's especially strict in our interactions between, for example, a Muslim woman and a non-Muslim man. Okay, we have to be particularly on our P's and Q's. Because at least if a Muslim woman were interacting with a Muslim man, then you would think that he would have some level of decorum and know that there's some limits or some guidelines. But the non-Muslim man doesn't have any concept of guidelines. And so,
I put some guidelines into him within the third time we sat down and talked. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
But you get my point is that he may do anything. And so because that risk is there, it's very critical for a woman to what? To what? Maintain her distance. That's the first thing. So the deen, the parameters of the deen are going to have to govern whatever help we give. And if whatever help we give violates the parameters of the deen, we won't give it. That's the first thing. The second thing is that it's incumbent upon every person to know his or her limits. Okay? As Umar ibn al-Aziz, he wrote to one of his sons, advising him, he said, رحم الله امرأ عرف قدر نفسه. May Allah have mercy upon the person who knows his limitations. So it's incumbent upon the Muslim, I want to help someone. And that person has a mental illness. And I don't have the skills, I don't have the training, I don't have the expertise to help him deal with mental illness. Then the help I would give him will be to direct him to someone who can. That will be the help I could give. But as far as me, for example, saying, hey, come on, sit down on my couch, okay, and look at these pictures. Tell me what you see. Like I'm going to psychoanalyze him, okay, and give him, I don't have the qualifications. I wouldn't even know, I don't know what he's supposed to see in the picture, right? I don't even know what it's. You get the point. Is that I can't do that. If he needs medical treatment, and I'm not a medical doctor, I couldn't do that. I have to refer him. And so whatever help I give is going to have to be limited to something that I am capable of performing, a function I'm capable of performing. If I'm not able to perform it, I have to direct him to those who can. So that's that. If we take these two rules, I think that will help us determine we want to help. How do we help? Parameters of deen have to be complied with, and I have to help within what? My limits. If it's beyond my limitations, I refer you to someone else.
Well, see,
Thank you.
That wasn't beyond my limitations because I dealt with quite a few people when I was younger who had that problem.
Mm-hmm.
I helped them, and I also studied on that. And I used to get Islamic Horizons magazine, and there was an article about a female chaplain, like one of the very first ones. I think it was in Texas or something. And it really influenced me, which I know I have to get stronger and more knowledgeable in my deen. You know, I never could be a female chaplain, but that's why I try to push so hard to try to help them.
Jamia.
But now I understand what you're saying.
Alhamdulillah, I hope it helps. You want to stop or you want to do this?
Use the shake.
Milkshake or chocolate shake or strawberry shake? Or?
This in cocoa, brother. Okay, at least let's final one more question, not a story now. We need this question because even the muazzin want to call the adhan and...
طيب, abshir. So really quickly, على Ujala, it says, would you be kind to give us your opinion concerning public school in the manner of what you're talking about in good and bad company? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. There's no question that this is a good extension, or the question is a good extension of the topic that we took tonight. If we talk about the importance of good companions and an environment, creating an environment which is conducive for the ultimate goal, which is to achieve Allah's pleasure and to be awarded with His paradise, we have to ask ourselves,
How many hours do children spend in school a day, typically?
Average 7.
7 to 8 hours, right?
Doesn't matter. Make it 4, make it 5. But
No, it's about 8 hours, man. It's about 8 hours in school. If they do after-school programs, it's going to be 9, 10, 11 hours in school. How many hours do they...
What school you going to?
No, a lot.
After-school activities. Yeah, if you have after-school activities. If you do debate. If you do debate.
I'm not talking about kindergarten.
If you do debate, if you do sports, come on, it's gonna be another 2 to 3 hours after school. So that would let's go with the small number 7. We'll go with the lower number 7. I don't agree with 5, but let's go with 7. You said 6.
Jamil.
Okay, I don't agree with 6. Let's say 7.
Jamil.
Okay, school. So let's say you said 6. I said 8. Let's go with the number in the middle. 7. 7. Add 2 hours for extracurricular activities. That's what? How many? 9 hours. How many hours do they spend sleeping? Let's say 8. Okay? How many times do they spend watching the TV? Honestly. Come on. Come on. And how many hours do they spend sitting with their parents, talking, getting instruction, interacting with their parents actually in one day? Come on, it could be reduced to minutes. Wallah. It can be reduced to minutes that they actually are. So what does that tell you? The parents' level of influence is what? It's minuscule. And the level of influence of the school is what? It's huge. The television, huge. Okay? So this is not going to influence them. This is not going to affect them and shape them. It's not going to be formative. Yeah, come on. It's going to be formative. And that few minutes that you said to say, oh, we're Muslim. You should be a good Muslim. That few minutes while you're eating food, right? They're probably not even paying attention anyway. Okay? That few minutes that you get a chance to what? To give them some tidbits of Islam. And then how many parents really seize that opportunity to tell them about deen? Honestly, that few minutes that they have with the child, how many of them seize that opportunity what? To remind them about what? Deen. Very few. Very few will take that time. They'll be busy talking about other things. Did you take the trash out? Did you clean your room? Right? What did you do at school today? You got to get those grades up. They spend time talking about what? Other things. I'm talking about deen. They say, oh, you know what we're going to do? You know how we're going to deal with this problem? We're going to take them to Sunday school. How many times do they spend in Sunday school? How many hours?
3.
3, 4 hours. Let's go 5 hours on a Sunday. 5 hours on a Sunday compared to
45 minutes a day.
Compared to about